Okay. All right, everybody. So, in the interest of time, we are going to get started with our program today. I know everybody has other things going on, and we're glad you took time to be here. For those of you I haven't met yet, my name is Serena Deutsch. I work for Vela Education Fund. Some of you are familiar faces. For any of you who have more recently joined the Vela community, or those of you who haven't joined one of these calls before, once a month, we try to provide a space for people who've received grants to share their expertise on a specific topic with others from our community, rotating different topics each month. This month, we are super excited to have Dominique and Anita, two people who met from this community and have begun collaborating on an amazing set of resources to share today. I'll just preface this by saying they're going to share a lot of information. This call will be recorded, and we also will be sending out all of the presentations, resources, all those different sorts of things afterwards. So you will definitely have access to all these materials, which is super exciting. We'll do a little intro to this call, and there will be breakout rooms later. We hope it's really interactive. And with that, thank you again. And I am going to turn it over to our leaders today.
Thank you, Serena.
Thank you, Serena. Yes, welcome everyone. So we're here to talk about the power of working one-on-one with learners and leading especially neurodivergent youth to success. My name is Dominique Paloma Bible. I am the founder of Off the Beaten Path Learning. It's virtual, but I'm based in New York, and we'll talk a little bit more about ourselves and how we got here in education and what neurodiversity means to us in our intro. But for now, I'll pass it to Anita.
Okay, my name's Anita Williams, and I am the founder of Dragonfly Academy, Therapeutic and Educational Micro School here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I'll pass it back to you, Dom.
Mm-hmm. Feels like we're on the news report. Back to you.
I'll pass it back to you.
Right. Okay, so we'll go through the agenda so that you have an idea of how we're spending the hour. Let me put this away for right now, but we do have some things to mention right after the agenda. So yeah, the agenda for this hour, we're going to start with a guiding question and a couple of definitions just to anchor us down in what we're doing, why we're here, and what we're talking about. And then we'll do a little bit of story time. Anita and I will share how we're related to neurodiversity and why it means so much to us. And then we're going to get into kind of the meat and potatoes of this workshop by sharing the universal screening tool, which is kind of a holistic assessment that we imagine educators will facilitate during a one-on-one exchange in order to just better understand and better respect the young person in order to serve them better, right, in their unique needs. And then we'll go into breakout rooms and role play that universal screening tool to just feel, is it effective? Do we think this could work in terms of better understanding and respecting young people and thus better serving them and their specific needs? And then we'll go into the group and just share as a group, what did we think of the screening tool? What do we think of one-on-one work with neurodivergent young people? And then we're done. So I will let Anita mention a bunch of important things here and you can read along.
Okay, so thank you, Dom. And so as Serena mentioned, Dom and I met through Vela. I don't know, I said something or Dom liked something that occurred during one of the expert talks, and she reached out to me via email, and we started collaborating and talking amongst ourselves between her and I. She's in New York, I'm in Nevada, and of different generations, but I love and a passion for the neurodiverse community and alternative education and making sure that accommodations are met and that these children and young people and adults are treated with respect and dignity and given value, which as we got to talking and knowing, it just seemed that we both were very like-minded in that train of thought. So that journey came up what we each did at our individual learning environments as far as tools and assessments and getting to know our children. She works more predominantly with young adults. I work more with like that 10 to 14-year-old adolescent group. And so just talking about the importance of one-on-one accommodations, and that of course got us talking about the IEPs that us here in Southern Nevada, IEPs a lot of times are just a bunch of copying and pasting. So we're not going to spend time tearing down archaic old methods. We're going to present to you what we think works in the population that we have a passion for and a love for, and advocating for change for those individuals. So out of that collaboration came this tool that we're calling the Universal Screening Tool. And this isn't going to be a deep dive as Dom has here into neurodiversity, because that in and of itself, that could be, 2 or 3 year long study if you go get your PhD. So we do what we have come to talk about in our collaborations and meetings is like Dragonfly Academy, we want to have a 4-to-1 ratio, 1 adult to 4 learners, so that if any one particular learner is having some difficulty, we have an adult that can take that learner aside, whether it's a sensory difficulty that they're experiencing and they need just some one-on-one time or quiet time, or whether they need one-on-one instruction and direction. And so talking about how expensive that is and how really it's not as accessible as we think it needs to be. And we hope that what we're talking about today makes sense to those of you that have decided to join us. We're going to ask that you reserve your questions for the end. We will have time for Q&A. And we also ask that when looking at our screening, that take what you like, leave the rest behind. But we would enjoy your feedback as to if you have some suggestions or ideas or comments that are, constructive and positive, that we can also take away from this talk and use. And so I think in this community, we need to embrace one another, because there is so much work to be done in the alternative, non-traditional education realm. And so thank you all for joining us, and I'll give it back to Dom.
Amen. Yeah, I think so. There is a lot to be discussed in the alternative ed and neurodivergent worlds. Yeah. So the guiding question that we're thinking about throughout exploring the tool and thinking about neurodivergent young people is, what are the benefits of one-on-one education work for neurodivergent youth? What are the benefits, right? And so we're thinking about this tool and asking ourselves, is it beneficial? Is it helpful? Or do we think it's harmful? So process that as we show you, give you a tour, and the breakout room experience. This is what you'll be thinking about. Is it beneficial for one-on-one? How can we make it the most beneficial for neurodivergent young people? So neurodiversity and one-on-one education are the two terms we wanted to define. Neurodiversity is an approach to learning that argues diverse neurological conditions are the result of normal variations in the human genome. It's normal variations. And a one-on-one education is defined for the purposes of this workshop as individual education work between an educator and a learner in a format approved by the learner and family. That's key, right? Is the consent part of that. So this could look like a broad range of different types. It could be tutoring, it could be advising, it could be much of anything, right? But just that one-on-one interaction, and how does that impact a person that is a neurological minority as a young person? So yeah, let's get into story time. So as I said, I'm Dominique. I my education journey kind of starts when I got my GED. I say this a lot. It was the best decision I ever made, hands down, because it is when I discovered that I actually have an impact on my own life. I know it sounds obvious, but I was trying so hard to actually like school. I've always been a learner. I really enjoy learning. But school was just not it for me, and I couldn't understand why. Everyone was like, "Oh, you're such a good student," blah, 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 blah. And when I realized that I could make the choice to just get this diploma, it took me until my 13th year of school, right? So I was a super senior when I finally made that decision, but it was an amazing breakthrough that I could choose my own path, right? So I started with an IEP. I was diagnosed around the age of 12, and shortly thereafter had an IEP. And so after the GED, I discovered that I loved education, alternative education. Anyway, not conventional so much, but, and so I got my bachelor's and my master's from a self-directed college, Goddard College in Vermont, in community education, which is a beautiful process that I utilize in my work, doing one-on-one self-directed education. So even though community ed is a process done, in a collective, as it says, it really, it's helpful when getting anyone to achieve their goals. So I do use community education in one-on-one self-directed education, and that is the basis of Off the Beaten Path learning and what we offer. It's virtual, weekly, one-on-one self-directed guidance. Essentially, I meet with young people. We talk about what their goals are, how they can get there, how they can enjoy the process getting there. And I think the true benefit that I've seen from this work is the joy and sense of accomplishment. And those two, when put together, lift up the young person in a way where they see the impact they have on their own life. One of my favorite questions to ask young people is, name 3 decisions you are proud of this week. When I tell you that they don't know how to answer, even after several times asking this question, it's a tricky one. You try it. It's a tricky one, because what your brain starts to think about is, what nice things have happened to me? Not what did I do? Not what decisions did I make? Especially on a hard week, that can be hard to name what you decided. But that's the power, I think, of self-directed education. For me, it's so important, because when learners practice decision making, that's how they find their power. That's how they find their sense of agency, and that they can help themselves. And it's incredible, especially for anyone that has a neurological a minority disorder, or a mental health issue going on, as I do. So yes, so that's my story. That's how I'm connected to the neurodiverse world. And now I'll pass it to Anita.
Thank you, Dom. So my name is Anita, and I am the founder of Dragon Academy. And I am also a clinical mental health counselor. That's where my master's degree is from, is that field. And I'm also, knowing what I know today, I also I know I fall under that umbrella of neurodiversity, because I know I should have been diagnosed with ADHD early on in my life and was not. And ADHD falls under that neurological umbrella of neurodiversity. Dragonfly Academy came about because my journey into the realm of looking at autism and autism spectrum disorders started about 8 years ago now, when my daughter and her children came to live with us, and about when my grandson was 6 or 7 and started transitioning from pre-K to kindergarten. That's when his difficulty of transitioning, his anxiety, school refusal, those types of things started to kind of present themselves. Him and his sister are 14 months apart. And so we watched the progression about 6 to 8 months after Alex went through a particular developmental stage that was rough and rocky. His sister Cora followed shortly thereafter. And in watching them, because I have a young daughter that was diagnosed with ADHD when she was in 3rd grade, I looked at my daughter and I said, I think we might have some ADHD going on, but I don't know. Let's watch it. But in dealing with our school system here, we thought we had them in a wonderful charter school. When looking to address the needs that we were seeing come up and the issues that we were seeing come up, the needs of my daughter's children were not being met. We were being, behavioral issues were being pointed out. Learning difficulties or learning disabilities were being pointed out. But when I presented at an IEP meeting as a clinician, did anyone here notice that perhaps Alexander might fall on the autism spectrum disorder? They were all going.
Yeah.
Our groundbreaking of Baker High School occurred August 30th. From the August 2016 flood, we were able to.
Do we know who that is? Okay. So I will try to regroup here really quickly. But his teacher in the IEP looked at the principal and said, well, Alexander couldn't be on the autism spectrum, could he? He's too empathetic. And so that there told me exactly what I needed to confirm, which was they didn't know what we're talking about. Because if any of you work with individuals that are neurodivergent, you know that they feel too deeply. They are very sensitive. They're very guarded. They're often, people think that because they present sometimes with a flat affect that they have no feelings or emotions or empathy, and that's totally untrue. And so at that point, we left that IEP and conversations continued. And so at one point, I looked at my daughter and I said, Megan, what's more important to you, the mental health and well-being of your children or their education? Because I'm not worried about their education because I know how smart they are. I'm worried about their mental health and well-being. And Dawn touched on that. Once she took that step and got her GED, it probably gave her such a sense of environment that she had taken some control over her body. And it probably alleviated a lot of stress and anxiety that she was experiencing in those traditional school settings. And unfortunately, the traditional education environment, from my perspective, at least in the area of the country I'm in, they do not properly address the neurodiverse individual, nor do they meet their needs. And so again, my daughter removed her children. We started homeschooling. I told them Grammy was going to start a school, and that began our journey into what I later discovered was the micro school movement. I'm very happy to be here, and I hope that anything that I have to share benefits some of you. And I hope to hear from any of you with your feedback, your criticisms, as long as they're positive criticisms, because I don't want to remake the wheel. I want to work smarter, not harder. So thank you, Vila, for allowing us to have this platform to present on, and I'll give it back to Dawn.
Yeah. That question about which one are you more concerned about, mental health or their education? That hits home. That hits home as a learner and it hits home as an educator. Yeah. So okay, so let's get into I can't even meat and potatoes. That's all. What we really wanted to share with you here, the universal screening tool. It is a Google form. It's a tool to get to know learners in order to serve them better. So really it's more of a holistic reflection, right? It's not so much academic or social or just executive functioning or any of those singular frameworks. It's supposed to be more varied, right? So that you can get a really a well-rounded picture of the young person. We created this because so often, even with IEPs sometimes, but so often the educator will not get very much one-on-one time with the young person. Sometimes no one-on-one time the whole year round. So we're arguing here that we think it's beneficial, and some time is better than no time. It doesn't have to be 24/7. It doesn't have to be all that you do, but just having those moments of connection when you get the chance, or if you have to carve out that time to get that chance, is really beneficial. And we wrote here that it's important, and it's beneficial to all young people, right? All people are neurodiverse, but of course, though everyone is technically neurodiverse, the term neurodivergent is supposed to imply that you're a neurological minority, that you have some sort of disability or disorder in your brain. But we think this one-on-one tool can be beneficial to everyone, because when you know someone better, you can serve them better. It's that simple. But we don't have any research in our bibliography anyway to say any of this is necessary, right? But if you do, please do send it our way, or at least I can only speak for myself, but I'm definitely interested in the research. So now that I've kind of prepped you on the background of this tool, Anita was going to kind of give you a visual tour. Should I open up the 11 through 18? Did you have in mind which one?
Either one, that's fine.
Either one, okay, cool. I'm gonna do the 4 through 10 because I got those ideas from you. But it's not okay. One moment, folks. Great, this will do. Share this tab. Do you guys see a bunch of smiling children with hula hoops? Awesome, thank you. You will be able to get access to the tool. Yes, absolutely. And the slides and the development packet and our Instagrams and a bunch of stuff. Yes. Yes, thank you for asking. So here is the tool, yeah. And Anita, let me know if you want us to, if you want me to fill in anything.
Well, if you just want to kind of scroll very slowly. So again, maybe not quite that fast, Tom. So anyway, I feel like we've done a good job of giving you the purpose. I'm not going to read to you guys. You're smart, intelligent people. You can read to yourself. We hope to cover these areas when we're going through a screening tool and for this age group, especially 4 to 10, you're probably going to be observing the child more so with the parents present and asking the parents these questions, depending on how verbal the child is, how much of an extrovert and how comfortable they are. They, of course, may answer those questions too. And when I am meeting with parents and a child, and Dom, start scrolling, you can, I always address the child, even if I know, and this is just basic information, even if I know the parent's going to be the one that answers, I will still address the child. So I may say, Dominique, I want you to name 1 or 3 things that make you smile, and maybe Dominique might tell me, well, I love cookies. Well, we all love cookies, and then I may defer to the parent at that point to get a little bit more in-depth, material from them. And so then, of course, there's always those concerns that parents have. And so we just try to hit a few questions in all of these areas, social, emotional, cognitive, and just to kind of give us a broader area of what does the child not do they well in school, not do they, but this is a very important one. Do they play with other children? Do they prefer to play alone? Especially when you're talking about the neurodiverse individual, because a lot of times girls especially can mask and present that everything is okay. But at the end of the day, they get in the car with mom or dad and they have meltdowns and tell them how horrible it was, even if the feedback the parent got was that they had an awesome day. And it's because it's taken all of their mental, physical, and emotional energy to maintain and to be present in that learning environment. And so it's good. This is a good one that lets you know, okay, this kiddo might need to have a certain amount of time alone throughout the day when they're at Dragonfly Academy. They might to be, in our sensory room. So go ahead and go on down, Dom. Language and communication. A lot of neurodiverse people talk like young adults, even if they're 3, 4, 5, and so again, this lets us know a lot of them are visual learners or auditory learners. They have great memories. Some of them, they retain a lot of knowledge, and they may not be good at using pen and paper, but verbally they can tell you an awful lot. They have great imaginations. And so they can tell you interesting stories. The thing I like, not that I love about the neurodiverse population is they do have great imaginations. And the other thing I often tell parents, and parents are sometimes surprised, is the neurodivergent individual typically does not. They think in black and white, and they will tell you the truth, even if the truth hurts you. And they don't think anything twice about it. So anyway, this is just more questions to hear. You can go ahead, Dom, and to ask, because I don't want to take up much more of our time. But I think you guys get the gist. These are just, we've put our references for where we got this information, that children would meet certain milestones at certain time periods. And if not, you might want to check in with your pediatrician and everything. So Don, did you want me to throw it back to you or to give instructions about the breakout rooms, or did you want and then follow up?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think that was a really good run through. And if you have any questions about that, hold on to it, or comments, because that's what we're here for, is feedback and thoughts and questions. Hold on to it, and we should have at least 10 minutes at the end to be a group and throw in questions into the chat and press that little raise hand button if you want audio, etc. So let's get into the breakout room. Oba. Okay, so for this breakout room, we'll be role playing. There will be 2 people that will be actors in the room, and the rest of y'all will be witnesses. And the idea for this breakout room is that everyone shares one reflection afterwards. Actually, sorry, in the chat is irrelevant. So when we come back out as a group, we'll be sharing reflections on what we thought of the screening tool. Now, I just want to preface this by saying that though this activity is supposed to be role play, the main goal is for you to explore these questions, the tool, and think about would it be helpful to the learner. The tool that we're sending you, the link that we're sending you, is only the questions. It's just a selection of the full universal screening tool. So it's just going to be the questions that you see that you'll be practicing in the breakout room. Okay, so the first step when you get into the breakout room, you'll just introduce each other. Hi, my name is, my pronouns, and then you'll choose the 2 actors, right? The 2 volunteers to role play. Your roles as the actors will be the educator and the learner, and then you'll switch, and we'll give you the to go after 6 minutes. We'll send like a little message All right, switch it up in 30 seconds so you know when to finish up. So you're going to role play with these selected questions. I'll show you just a brief example of how that'll go down. And then during group discussion, you'll share your reflection about how did you like it? What did you think of the tool? Okay, so the way this might look is, here are the questions, right? So I walk in, I'm imagining myself, I'm the educator, I'm the learner, I'm playing both parts right now, and we're in a one-on-one situation. Important to note is that the learner is between the ages of 11 to 18 for this example. So imagine yourself as the learner, you're somewhere between 11 and 18, you're answering these questions. You say, hi, what's your name? Imagine you don't know them, or you do know them, you're doing a mid-year, advising check-in perhaps, and you can just be like, all right, I know your name, blah, 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 what are your pronouns these days? How old are you now, right? Okay, tell me one academic or personal strength that you think you've got, right? Okay, now name a challenge. What kind of accommodations do you need to learn best? And so you just kind of have it a discussion style interview for like 5 or so minutes with these questions, just to feel it out. So, Anita, did I miss anything?
Well, I just wanted to cover that you may get into that break room and introduce yourselves, and maybe no one really wants to role play, and that's okay. You can, as a group, review what you have and talk amongst yourself, your thoughts, how you think you could use this, and then give us your feedback if you choose. But, role playing will give you a good opportunity to kind of explore it more in depth. But if you choose not to, that's okay. Just explore it together, have a discussion with the newfound people that you just met, because that's how Dom and I met each other, was through such a talk as this. And I'm so grateful that I've gotten to meet Dominique. So that was all I was going to add.
Okay, yeah, and I will say one advantage of the role play, should you decide to do it, is that it really provides depth into the feeling. It can be kind of interesting to be on the other end of that, the answering end. Okay, so Alex and Serena, I think we're ready for breakout rooms.
Great. You should get a pop-up in just a second to join a room. I will send a message saying that you are ready to get back to the main room when we are wrapped, or you can message us and let us.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
Are you even old enough to know that?
I'm not. I don't know what it's from.
Well, we did. I bet Andrea and I both do.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I sure do.
Welcome back, Cotter?
Yes.
I don't know how
That's,
Oh, for heaven's sakes, Dom.
Okay, should I go ahead? Do we have everyone? Okay.
I think so.
All right, so we're back in the group, and we are thinking about the grounding question. The guiding question is, what are the benefits of this one-on-one work for neurodivergent youth, and thinking specifically about how this tool can help facilitate that. We also wanted to ask, is it so beneficial that it's necessary? Do we think that? So give yourself a few seconds to kind of think about this. You can put your answer in the chat, or you can raise your hand, and we'll start a kind of group conversation. And I'll be entering in some things into the slides while we share.
Yes,
Yes.
Mandy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really beneficial to have the reflection in the tool that, like, when we role played it, it took her a minute to, think about each question. And that sort of reflection, I think a lot of neurodivergent youth are very introspective. And just having those prompts to think deeply about these various topics, strengths and challenges and the environment. I wish I had had those things as a youth. Because I was thinking about them, but I just didn't have, the tools to process them or to change them. No one was there to help me if something was challenging, or to foster the things that were the way that I wanted to learn. So I think that some of those can be very fruitful for the youth.
Thank you, Mandy. That's appreciated.
Yeah, that reflection piece is key, I think, and to develop learning too, like true learning takes reflection, right? I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Would you be able to take yourself, oh, there are two people whose name I don't know how to pronounce. I want to say Janae, would you be able to take yourself off mute? An amazing way to get to really.
Hi.
So, yeah, hi, hey. How you doing?
That's Renee. You did a good job saying it.
Hi, Janae, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, yeah. And your comment about turning areas of growth into strengths, using their strengths, so true. Do you want to say anything more on that?
It's something that I definitely have conversations with my own kiddos, but also as a educator in traditional schools with students who are neurodivergent or just think differently. They're always put into a box, and we're often forcing them to like focus so much on their area of deficits, but not having the conversation with them to turn those area of deficits into strengths using their strengths, So like if they're able to draw really well, what is a way that we can incorporate like their proficiency by them showing the concept of the whatever it was through art or something like that.
Right. Like you could do math, you can do spelling, you can do anything in art.
Exactly.
Yes.
Just being able to incorporate all the things, because my kiddo, 9-year-old, and my all my kids, I have 2 GT, but one with stealth dyslexia, and his teachers just don't understand his way of thinking. Like he will go on tangents, and he's been recently diagnosed with ADHD as well. And so we're kind of seeing a lot of those things, but there may also be autism there too. But because the teachers are not able to really hone in on his areas of strength, like his vocabulary, his discussion, they're not leaning into that. He is not able to actually show his understanding. And writing is like a major area of deficit for him being in 3rd grade. And they're hyper focused on the output in a specific way, rather than like leaning in on the other areas that he can like show his proficiency.
So if I could just make a comment, Janae, correct? Yeah. Okay, great. Because both of my grandchildren, they're Asperger's and ADHD. So chances are, even though we say autism spectrum disorder, chances are, if your son went through that babyhood development, chances are you're going to find out if he is on the autism spectrum, he's probably really got that high functioning Asperger's diagnosis. And those individuals, what I tell my parents that I work with is your child's not broken. And unfortunately, people that are not knowledgeable, your child's not broken, but the people working with him, trying to teach him writing, it sounds like they think he's broken and needs to be fixed. Well, your child's not broken. He has a different way of thinking, doing that's different, not less. That different, not less comes from Temple Grandin. And I know Serena's going to be putting out a bibliography that I share with my families and everything. And so I'm hoping that parents such as yourself and educators such as yourself will use the information that Dominique and I have put out to really utilize it to make change. Because if you're an educator in the school system, I applaud you. I applaud you for sticking with it and being there, because you have the potential to make change. And you're exactly right. It's focusing on those individual strengths and kind of backdooring it in to their deficits and their difficulties with their strengths. But oftentimes, especially in Southern Nevada, those kiddos' difficulties get identified as behavior issues. And
Yeah.
that is not okay.
Yep, and definitely affects their mental and emotional health. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Janae. Someone else put in the chat, oh, and Alex does give a 4-minute warning. There's some information about next week's virtual event in the chat as well. I don't know, we met today over Vila chat. Is it Tamira?
That works. Tamara, Tamira, Tamira, whatever.
Hi, Tamara. Yeah, I like your point about, you said this is necessary. And when you say this, do you mean that one-on-one attention, that one-on-one work?
Not just the one-on-one work, but that tool that we just used in getting to know a child, asking those questions, those questions, because it shows that you have interest in the child. It shows them you care. It's vital. I've done a lot of just helping beginning teachers in my past life, I call it, before I left the public school system. But working with all those teachers, you know, that was one of the things I always said is you have to build relationships with kids. You have to, it's vital. And I just remember a lot of the student teachers, you know, in their groups are like, but wait a minute, we don't have time. And I was like, you don't have time not to. And it goes directly into what you were saying, Janae, in regards to the behavior, because just sitting down with this for a few minutes, this tool can help you understand the child better. They will actually understand you better. They see that you care. There's going to open up those avenues of communication. And then you're going to be better able to understand, is this behavioral? Is this a need? What's going on? And 9 times out of 10, I would say 10 times out of 10, it's not really, a child doesn't want to misbehave. That's not their ultimate goal. There's some need that is not being fulfilled.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's 2 minutes to close. I want to add one last quick note, and then Anita will as well. And Andrea, I want to point out, put a really cool resource in the chat if anybody wants to check that out, Raising Wild Child. Apparently this person is neurodivergent herself. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so I just wanted to finish by saying I'm glad that we gained something from this tool. I put it in the acknowledgements in the educator guide, which is another attachment that you'll be receiving along with the screening tool, along with the development information, the youth development information. A thanks to a community organization that I used to work for, where I found out about this tool called Red Hook Initiative in Brooklyn. And it was through that work I was an academic advisor at the time, and I was in charge of doing the academic advising one-on-one, asking young people our sorts of questions. And it was during those moments that I realized, wow, it's so powerful to, as Tamara said, develop relationships. I mean, it's key. Like the people that I never met with, a world of difference in the impact I was able to, put out there for them. So thank you everyone so much for coming, and I'll let Anita kind of leave it off with some words.
Just again, it's been a privilege to be on this platform with you guys, to hear from you guys, your input, and also to know that each and every one of you is also a VILA grantee. And again, thank you, VILA, for offering this platform to those of us that are trying to make change out there. And also, please feel free to reach out to Dominique and myself. I'm interested in meeting other entrepreneurs, micro schoolers, innovative educators, people thinking outside the box, And I loved that you shared that, Andrea, that book, Raising a Wild Child. I think I know who wrote it. I'm going to see if
It's
I
actually
do.
not a book, although there is a book with that similar title. But the resource that I shared is actually a woman who has and she does consulting and coaching with parents and kids
Okay,
who are
Okay.
neurodivergent. So, but yes, there is
Okay.
a book of that title. It's not the same author.
okay, great. Well, still, thank you for sharing the resource. And just, again, thank you to Vila and everyone that attended today.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. We're going to wrap up. We'll send all these resources out shortly and hope you all have a great night.
Have a
All
We'll
right.
see you
Thank you,
next
Serena and
time.
Alex. Bye, Dom.
Thank you so much, Anita and
Bye.
Dominique.